Well, congratulations, everyone. We have successfully defeated the Houthis and restored freedom of navigation in the Red Sea. Maybe. Also, maybe not. I mean, the Houthis said that they defeated us. Also, that they're going to continue supporting the Palestinian people in Gaza by attacking Israel. So it's not entirely, it's complicated, is the way maybe we should put it for now. Also, the timing of this was something else. I mean, it sounds like Israel had no idea this announcement was coming, and it was made while there were essentially still Israeli fighter jets in the air headed back home after striking Houthi targets in Yemen for the second day in a row. So that's something. But anyways, let's dive into what we know so far, starting with a statement from President Trump in the Oval Office earlier today, where he essentially said the Houthis called and tapped out. They had enough. Here we go.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated, but more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis. Effective immediately.
And Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth added to that, saying, quote, "The objective from day one, ensuring freedom of navigation, peace through strength in action." But here's the thing, and it gets confusing because as soon as this statement was made by President Trump, and there was no indication that it was coming today, the Houthis had this video standing by at the ready that I'm going to play here in a second, titled "The American Failure." And in that video, they say that the sea is closed to Israeli and American shipping. So I don't really understand exactly where this all sits today. We'll get into more Houthi official statements in a moment, but let's give this straight up propaganda video a watch. I'm going to strip the audio out just so it doesn't get flagged for some sort of audio copyright stuff, but here it is. So kind of contradictory in a lot of ways to what President Trump and Secretary Hegseth said, but I think we've got a pretty good idea of what this actually looks like in practice. I mean, the Omani foreign minister put out a statement. Apparently, they were the ones that mediated this agreement. He said, quote, "According to this agreement, neither side will launch attacks, including against American ships in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, in order to ensure freedom of navigation and the smooth flow of international trade." And then Mohammed al-Bikti, a senior political official and spokesperson for the Houthis, said, quote, "As for our attacks on the United States, they fall within the right of self-defense. If it stops its attacks on us, we will stop our attacks on it. This position also applies to Britain." So that's kind of the best understanding we have of this at this point, is kind of a, we're not going to shoot at you if you don't shoot at us. Now, to be clear, the Houthis have not claimed responsibility for an attack against a commercial vessel since December of 2024. This most recent wave, or this uptick in fighting that really began in mid-March, the Houthis were talking about resuming their attacks against commercial shipping in what looked to have been a preventative strike or a preemptive strike. The U.S. began Operation Rough Rider, and we've been going tit for tat with the Houthis since then, where all of the Houthis' claimed attacks for the last month and a half now have been against U.S. military vessels in the Red Sea or the Gulf of Aden and against Israel. They have not publicly claimed, and there's been no other sources saying that any commercial vessels have been under attack. So it looks like in this case, it's like a ceasefire between the United States military and United States shipping and the Houthis. That's my best read. But some other key statements here, there were some inside of the Houthi leadership that pushed straight back on this and said, it's just made up. It's not a thing at all. Rashad al-Watiri, a officer in the Houthi armed forces, told the Quds Network, quote, "Trump lies as he breathes. The Yemeni people and their armed forces are eager to confront the American, Israeli, and British mercenaries because the people of the free region have no choice but to wage jihad and confront the greatest tyrant, America and Israel, in defense of Palestine. What Trump said is a lie that can be refuted because the Yemeni people's battle is a battle of action and confrontation, and there is no compromise in the mind of even the smallest Yemeni fighter, despite the temptations the Americans have placed before Yemen. Kind of what he's getting at there is you'll see in the coming days. And there were some other statements along those lines as well. Another member here of the Houthi Politburo, Salim al-Mahagas, said, quote, "We do not trust his word," talking about President Trump. "We reaffirm our commitment to Gaza and will continue our operations until the aggression ends." And the way he phrased that and a couple others made it sound more like a unilateral agreement. Like the United States said, we will stop attacking you if you stop attacking us, rather than some sort of actual agreement that two parties put together, if that makes sense. Then turning over to a statement from the military, the Field Marshal Mahdi al-Mashat, the supreme commander of the Houthi armed forces, said, quote, "There will be no retreat from supporting Gaza, no matter the cost. What happens proves that our strikes are painful and will continue. Our response, God willing, will be devastating and painful and will be beyond the capacity of the Israeli enemy to bear." So what we're seeing here is a bit of a shift towards, there were some statements about we're still going to go after the Americans. Of course, we have that video saying that we're still going to go after shipping. But we've seen a lot more Houthi officials in the last couple hours say, now Israel is in the crosshairs. 100% we're going to focus all energy on Israel. And that was echoed by the director of the Houthi-backed Sam FM radio, Hamoud Mohammed Sharaf, where he said, quote, "Trump has announced America's surrender to Yemen and its abandonment of Israel. If you doubt it, wait until the end of the week. Still, we don't believe this infidel. Our weapons remain ready, and we will continue supporting Gaza." And this is kind of how this is being received in Israel, where a report from Barak Ravid, he said a senior Israeli official told him that the United States did not notify Israel in advance of Trump's announcement of this truce with the Houthis. Quote, "We didn't know about this. Trump surprised us," the official said. And there are some people in Israel arguing right now that this is essentially the United States abandoning Israel as soon as the Houthis escalate this conflict. Again, just a couple days ago, we had the Houthis launch a missile that impacted just outside the Ben Gurion airport in Israel. It was the first effective strike carried out by the Houthis in a long time. And in response, we saw Israel just start to carry out strikes against the Houthis. And right at that moment is when this truce is announced. But before getting into the details of the second day of Israeli strikes, a quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, U.S. Concealed Carry Association. USCCA is a national organization with over 860,000 members dedicated to helping responsibly armed Americans avoid danger, save lives, and protect their families. They provide tools, training, and legal protection for everyday people who choose to carry. Check out the link in the description to find a training class near you and know the laws wherever your adventure takes you. Now, the IDF issued a statement saying that for the second time in less than a day, they carried out airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. We've got some footage from the IDF as well as some from on the ground in Yemen showing the destruction brought about by these airstrikes. They say the Israeli Air Force attacked and destroyed the Houthi terrorist organization's infrastructure at the central airport in the Sana'a area, leading to its complete shutdown. They say the airport, similar to the port of Hodeidah, which was attacked last night, is used by the Houthis to transfer weapons and operatives and is regularly operated by the Houthi regime for terrorist purposes. They say, in addition, several power stations in the Sana'a area were also attacked, which the Houthis utilized to supply electricity for their terrorist regime, as well as the concrete factory in the north portion of the city that the Houthis use to build tunnels and military infrastructure. The IDF says that their Air Force dropped 50 munitions during the strikes on the airport and the other targets near the near Sana'a. Dozens of aircraft were involved in the strikes, including fighter jets, refuelers, and spy planes. They say the airport was disabled within 15 minutes. Also, notably, we did see an announcement that I'll put up on the screen here from the IDF Arabic spokesperson about an hour before these strikes commenced, announcing that the Houthis and anybody in Yemen, in Sana'a, should evacuate the international airport. It's not clear exactly how many people heeded that warning, but there was, I would say, 1, maybe 2 hours from the time that announcement was made public and hopefully circulated throughout Yemen, and when we first heard the initial bombs dropping earlier today. Now, according to Yemen media, they say 38 people were killed and injured in the second wave of Israeli attacks. It's not clear how they broke that out. Yesterday, I think it was like 2 or 3 killed and 20-some wounded. Not clear if that 38 is the total number killed or if that's the total casualties all rolled together. We'll probably get more information on that in the coming days. And then senior Houthi official Nasser al-Dim Amer said, quote, "The enemy focused its attacks on fuel tanks and power plants and cement factories with the aim of igniting fires and creating smoke plumes to create a different picture from the ones painted by the Yemeni operation after striking at the heart of its entity, disabling its airports, and imposing a blockade on civilian aviation throughout the entity. Most of the targets targeted had been hit before and had been targeted dozens of times over the past years. The response is coming, and the naval and air blockade will not be lifted from the Zionist enemy until the aggression on Gaza stops and blockade is lifted." So the standard Houthi terms that we have heard from day one: lift the siege of Gaza and we'll stop attacking Israel and stop attacking commercial shipping. That last piece is worth hanging on here. The Houthis have not agreed to stop attacking commercial shipping. Even their senior leaders today, following this announcement by Trump, are not echoing that. They're saying we're not going to attack American ships, American military vessels, and American shipping. But anybody who's been following this conflict knows that has been a very messy area. From the very beginning, the Houthis have said, when they said we're only going to attack Israeli ships, they hit just about everyone. And then they said, well, maybe it's just Israeli, American, and British ships, or ones going to American, Israeli, or British ports. And that just opened the floodgates. Any ship at all became fair game. So it'll be interesting here, even if that agreement is technically in place, how the Houthis go about kind of sectioning off the American ships and only going after other commercial vessels. And then on top of that, will the U.S. military that's in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden stand by as those attacks are carried out against our partner nation ships? It's a lot to see here in the coming days and weeks. But that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.